Things keep getting crazier as an NHL insider has revealed Chris Drury's master plan for this offseason, and that is acquiring not one, but two young superstars in positions of need for this roster heading into next season. And we're going to break down all the details of this report in this episode of Rangers Digest because some of the details are insane, and this team is going to look completely different come opening night of next season. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 74% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the Blue Shirts, go down below, hit that free subscribe button, and you get to stay up to date with everything that's going on with the New York Rangers. But Bret, today, another bombshell report from Elliotte Friedman this time as it pertains to two superstars in the league. One in particular that has been rumored to the New York Rangers. You've done some videos on it. I've done a video on it, and that is JJ Peterka. But it's becoming very real at this point. Before, it was just a rumor, a what if, wouldn't it be nice? But at this point, JJ Peterka is going to get traded. Before, it was told that, JJ Peterka is not happy in Buffalo. Him and his agent want out of Buffalo. The Sabres didn't want to trade him. At this point, from Elliotte Friedman, this just dropped today as well. They are now officially listening to offers. He is on the trade block. They are going to trade him. And if you guys can remember back to the trade deadline, I did a video on it. The Rangers actually offered a first-round pick and a roster player, an active player on the roster for JJ Peterka, and the Buffalo Sabres said no. So now at this point in time, because of the situation they're in, I feel like the Rangers can take advantage of this opportunity and actually get him for maybe not necessarily less, but a little bit less. And we'll get into what the return might be. But what are your thoughts on this, Bret, first of all? Because, I imagine, we're going to get into it. There's a certain player that would probably have to be involved in this trade. I feel like this trade could actually be a lot bigger than just this, and we'll get into that as well. But there's so many moving pieces right now. I feel like Chris Drury has his hand in so many different cookie jars, and I think that's a good thing because they have a massive opportunity in front of them here.
Darius, they certainly do have a massive opportunity here, and this is a bombshell report, like you said, from Elliotte Friedman. And now it says the Sabres are all of a sudden listening to offers on JJ Peterka, who they had no interest in moving. The Sabres have a ton of cap space, and when they have a young player like JJ, 23 years old, on the rise, they want to lock him up, no problem, no doubt about it. The issue is that the other party involved doesn't want to be there, has no interest in being there long term. He made that clear. His agent has really made that clear to Buffalo Sabres management. And I believe that Sabres management must be thinking to themselves that if we continue to play this cat and mouse game, we're really going to have no leverage at all, because you can see that they continue to lose leverage as the days pass by. Because the worst position in sports, especially from a front office perspective, is having a player that's really good, but has made it known to the whole entire league that he doesn't want to play for your franchise anymore. He doesn't want to extend his contract with your team, because what happens is you instantly lose trade value, and the Sabres have now finally realized that if they continue to do this, it's going to be horrible for them. And the Rangers absolutely will be involved on both of these players. What I love about both of these players, Darius, both 23 years old, and I keep preaching this, the last 3 seasons, and I always allude to this with Keandre Miller, who keeps getting worse, the Rangers clearly want players that are in the business of ascending, not descending. Both players have taken massive strides these past 3 seasons, and the Rangers and Chris Drury understand older stars, it's not sustainable anymore. The Rangers had their run with the older stars, up and down play. It's really a crapshoot from year to year. These players are on the right track. They're going to come into a team with the Rangers, with the right head coach who has seen it, who has done it, who has won at the highest level. And you would not only get a game wrecker in JJ Peterka, you would get a lefty defenseman in Bo Byram that is very versatile, could play up and down that line. So yes, I'm all in, would definitely be interested in making the move for both of these players.
And like you mentioned, and I brought up at the beginning of the video, I feel like this trade now with this new report could actually be a lot bigger than just getting either JJ Peterka or Bo Byram, like I brought up in a couple videos ago, or maybe a couple weeks ago at this point. this could be a much bigger trade. And I know that you're a fan of JJ Peterka. Like you brought up, you need players who are ascending right now, not descending or on the way out, right? You need players that are going to make a difference. And these are two guys that I think will really find new life in New York. And JJ Peterka, again, just looking at his advanced analytics here, all gas, no brakes. I feel like that is okay for what he is. He's an elite offensive player at his age, and I feel like if he's playing with guys like maybe Panarin, I feel like that could be a really good recipe for success. Now, what's going back the other way? It's pretty interesting, Bret. Like, you would imagine it's got to be Alexis Lafreniere. And again, we'll get into the specifics of Bo Byram in a second. I feel like the trade could make a ton of sense because of other subsequent moves that are going to be made, like moving out of Mika Zibanejad, which we touched on in a video, or our last video. But if you're entertaining, and this is from Blue Shirt Bulletin, I think it's an interesting point, but if you're entertaining a JJ Peterka trade to solidify a young top 6 right-wing core alongside Alexis Lafreniere, I think it can make some sense. But if you're considering trading it 1-for-1, it doesn't make too much sense. I could agree with this to a point, but if you're going to get Bo Byram as well, Lafreniere probably has to be included in this trade. And if you're getting Bo Byram, and also I'm just assuming you're signing Gavrikov, maybe Provorov as well, one of those guys to kind of, strengthen and lengthen the defense. If you're getting both of these guys, this team looks way better. And if you're trading Lafreniere the other way, it's almost like canceling out for Peterka, except I think Peterka maybe has a higher ceiling at this point, and he's going to make roughly the same amount of money on that contract. So how do you feel about that? Do you really want to keep Lafreniere? Are you okay with letting Lafreniere go? Because I think that the trade would be a little bit bigger. It wouldn't be 1-for-2. That makes no sense. But, if it is Bo Byram and obviously Peterka coming back the other way for Lafreniere and maybe a couple other pieces, that makes all the sense in the world to me.
Well, yeah, I am certainly okay with trading Alexis Lafreniere in the right deal. And Darius, this would be the right deal. I made a video about Lafreniere about a week ago, and I titled the video something like the Rangers must keep Lafreniere, something along those lines, that they must not trade him. But what I was alluding to in that video is that Lafreniere is coming off a bad season. I'll just call it what it is. He's coming off a bad season, started off great, got the contract extension, and we saw his play dip fast. But you don't want to trade a player like this with low value. It's not good business. And I really believe that the Rangers should hold on to him. But when you get presented an opportunity where the Sabres are looking to pick up the pieces here, quite frankly, looking to acquire some type of compensation, not just draft picks, but some players that are ready to be inserted into the lineup right now, who have played well, who have shown flashes, but maybe they believe, okay, we could further develop Lafreniere like we did Peterka, like we did Bo Byram, and others. For whatever reason, the Sabres are just not a great organization. They haven't been able to put the pieces together. They have a lot of interesting, fascinating pieces. We're talking about 2 of them right now, but Lafreniere should certainly be traded in the right deal. And I know Chris Drury doesn't like to make significant trades in the Eastern Conference. We've seen his track record, but this is a player that is an upgrade. I'm not afraid to say that. He is an upgrade over Alexis Lafreniere, considering the fact they're both in the same draft, Darius. And
Yep.
Lafreniere was a can't-miss #1 overall prospect, and Peterka is a second-round pick, and the trajectory of his career is just insane right now. The jumps that he's made from year to year, I get it. All gas, no brakes. He doesn't play defense, but the Rangers need a game wrecker. And whether it's JJ Peterka, whether it's a Jason Robertson, something like that, you can't have it all. The Rangers need a game wrecker. And inserting him on that line with a Panarin who's a playmaker, with a JT Miller who is really aggressive, he's quick, and he just controls the puck very nicely. If you put him on a line like that, or even with a Trocheck on maybe a second line who handles the puck nice, plays a little bit more defense maybe than a JT Miller, I just think Peterka's a really nice fit, Darius. And he's young, he's a game wrecker, and he has the skill that Chris Drury really wants to bring to this Rangers team.
Absolutely. And I think that when you're looking at the lineup, right, if you were to make a trade like this, a lot of people at this point are probably asking, how does this work? How does this make the team better? Again, like I mentioned, I'm assuming that you're signing maybe a Gavrikov or a Provorov or somebody to play that top line pairing. And if you brought in Bo Byram, he could play on the second pairing with Will Borgen. Now your defense looks a lot better. That is very competitive. Your forward group looks better because you're essentially swapping out Lafreniere for JJ Peterka, who, like you mentioned, same draft, but is playing a lot better, putting in the work. How does this work with the salary? Now we can kind of get into that, because it is very interesting. And if you look at Bo Byram, right, and on paper, by the way, this trade wouldn't make too much sense for the Buffalo Sabres, but their backs are kind of against the wall. They're going to have to make a move here. And if you're at least offering them Lafreniere, who, yes, you might be selling low on, it does make sense for the Sabres because at least they get a piece back. So that could make some sense. But again, he's projected at $6.6 million. With the Chris Kreider trade, you could afford this. And obviously, JJ Peterka, 7.3. That's what he's projected at. By the way, JJ Peterka, 68 points in 77 games on the Buffalo Sabres. Very impressive. Much better numbers at the same age as Alexis Lafreniere. So, $7.3 million. If Lafreniere is included in the trade, you're kind of canceling it out in terms of the contracts there. So that could make some sense. We just talked about in a previous video that Mika Zibanejad could be on his way out. If you're freeing up $8 million, that makes a ton of sense. You still have cap flexibility. You can still sign Will Cooley. You can still sign Matt Rempe. And then the team looks completely different. It's a little bit younger, but you still have a good, core group of players in terms of the leadership group, which I imagine would be Captain JT Miller, maybe Vincent Trocheck as the assistant. But that's, a story for another video. But any final thoughts, Bret, on that? Because the salary, I think, would, I hate to say work itself out, but, it would work. They could, be able to make it work. And I feel like this makes the Rangers younger and better. And let's not forget, Bo Byram specifically has won a Stanley Cup before with the Colorado Avalanche. So a very good piece.
Yes, a very good piece indeed. And my final thoughts are here. I don't think the Rangers are, necessarily one or two pieces away this offseason from winning a Stanley Cup. I really don't see that. I'm just in the business of playing it smart here. And would you rather make the playoffs with some young ascending players like Byram, like Peterka, or would you rather make the playoffs, maybe go a game or two further, or maybe just get bounced in the same fashion with some older veteran players? I really want to take that first route, and it'll be nice to have a mix of some young stars on the rise and also some middling players like a JT Miller, like a Trocheck, and you still have a veteran presence like an Artemi Panarin who hasn't really slowed down. I mean, this is a guy that is still at the top of his game. I know he had last season, when he had 120 points, that was just absurd. But this season, I know he took a step back, but 92 points is still very good. And he's playing at an elite level still. So you kind of have a nice mix there. You have some veterans, you have some guys in the middle of their prime, you have some guys on the rise. So you just want to play it smart here. The Rangers, like I said, Chris Drury clearly sees it, Darius. He wants to bring in players to help him win now, make the playoffs this season, but continue to push this narrative forward. We keep talking about next year's free agent class. Who knows what could happen, Darius? Maybe this situation, if the Rangers get these young stars, maybe it becomes more attractive to some stars on the market next offseason, and then who knows where this thing could go. So just play it smart, get better, but get better the right way.
Absolutely. And get younger, I think, right? And not for the sake of getting younger, but get some star power in the lineup as well, right? Which I think Peterka and Bo and Byram could help with that. And like you mentioned, there's some star players that could see this team as being attractive, a young team that could use some leadership and, is a superstar away from making a difference, like a Connor McDavid, like a Jack Eichel. It could become very attractive because the Rangers, living in New York, playing for the New York Rangers, it's attractive to free agents. It really is. And they can offer a lot of money next season as well, because the salary cap is going up a significant bit every summer after this summer. But let us know how you feel in the comments about a potential Lafreniere for JJ Peterka, Bo Byram. Of course, there would be other pieces involved in it, but man, I think this could make a lot of sense for the New York Rangers, not even heading into next season, but for the future. This would, establish perhaps a new core group of players. It could be pretty interesting. So let us know how you feel in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.